Austria, a nation known for its stunning alpine scenery and rich musical heritage, found itself at the center of a political earthquake. The far-right Freedom Party, led by the controversial figure of Herbert Kickl, secured a historic victory in the recent parliamentary elections. Their platform, built on a foundation of anti-immigration sentiment and a promise to restore Austrian values, resonated with a significant portion of the electorate, propelling them to the forefront of Austrian politics. This victory, while shocking to many, did not emerge from a vacuum. It was, in many ways, the culmination of years of simmering discontent and anxieties that had been steadily brewing beneath the surface of Austrian society. The Freedom Party's success sent shockwaves across Austria and beyond, raising alarm bells about the growing appeal of far-right ideologies. Their victory served as a stark reminder that even in seemingly stable democracies, the allure of populism and nationalism can prove a potent force, particularly in times of economic uncertainty and social change. This victory was not just a win for the Freedom Party, it was a symptom of deeper societal shifts that had been unfolding for years. Herbert Kickl, the leader of the Freedom Party, is a figure who evokes strong reactions. To his supporters, he is a straight-talking, no-nonsense politician who isn't afraid to speak his mind and challenge the status quo. They see him as a defender of Austrian identity and a bulwark against the perceived threats of globalization and immigration. His critics, however, paint a far less flattering portrait. They point to his inflammatory rhetoric, often laced with anti-immigrant and anti-Muslim sentiment, as evidence of a dangerous xenophobia. They raise concerns about his past ties to extremist groups and his tendency to flirt with authoritarian language. His detractors view him as a threat to the very fabric of Austrian democracy, someone who seeks to divide rather than unite. While the Freedom Party celebrated their electoral success, the path forward was far from clear. Forming a government in Austria's multi-party system requires building coalitions, and the Freedom Party's hardline stance made them an unpalatable partner for many. The Conservative People's Party, led by Karl Nehammer, ruled out any possibility of a coalition with Kickl at the helm. They viewed him as a security risk and a liability, someone whose presence in government would damage Austria's international reputation. The Social Democrats, led by Andreas Babler, echoed these concerns, refusing to entertain any collaboration with the far right. The Freedom Party found themselves in a precarious position, victorious yet isolated, their ability to enact their agenda hindered by their own divisive rhetoric and the reluctance of other parties to legitimize their views. The Freedom Party's victory, while unsettling to many, did not occur in a vacuum. Across Europe, far-right parties have been steadily gaining ground, capitalizing on a potent cocktail of anxieties and grievances that have left many feeling disillusioned and unheard. Economic anxieties fueled by rising living costs, stagnant wages, and a sense of shrinking opportunity have created fertile ground for populist appeals. The far-right, with their promises to put their own people first and protect them from the ravages of globalization, have successfully tapped into these economic fears, positioning themselves as the champions of the forgotten man. Immigration, too, has become a central theme in the far-right playbook. They exploit anxieties about cultural change and national identity, framing immigration as a threat to social cohesion and national security. The rise of the far-right is not unique to Austria. It's a phenomenon that has been sweeping across Europe, from the sun-drenched shores of the Mediterranean to the wind-swept plains of the north. In Italy, Giorgia Meloni's Brothers of Italy party, with its roots in neo-fascism, has ascended to power, their nationalist and anti-immigration agenda resonating with a significant segment of the electorate. In France, Marine Le Pen's National Rally, once a fringe party, has become a major force in French politics, their message of economic nationalism and cultural preservation striking a chord with voters disillusioned by the perceived failures of the political establishment. From Sweden to Hungary, from Finland to Spain, far-right parties have made significant inroads, their success a testament to the changing political landscape of Europe. Their rise is a symptom of deeper societal anxieties, a reflection of the growing disillusionment with globalization, the perceived loss of national identity, and the failure of traditional political parties to address the concerns of ordinary citizens. The rise of far-right parties across Europe poses a significant challenge to the European project. The European Union, founded on the principles of integration, cooperation and shared values, now faces a growing chorus of voices seeking to dismantle or weaken its foundations. Far-right parties, with their skepticism of supranationalism and their emphasis on national sovereignty, view the EU as an impediment to their vision of a Europe defined by strong borders, national identity and limited migration. Their presence in national parliaments and the European Parliament itself gives them a platform to obstruct EU initiatives, sow discord among member states and chip away at the solidarity that has been the bedrock of the European project. The rise of the far right, therefore, represents not just a political challenge, but an existential one, a test of whether the European Union can withstand the centrifugal forces pulling it apart. The rise of the far right in Europe casts a long shadow over the future of migrants and refugees seeking sanctuary within the continent's borders. Far-right parties, with their strident anti-immigration rhetoric and policies, view migrants and refugees as a threat to national identity, economic prosperity and social cohesion. They advocate for stricter border controls, limitations on asylum applications and even mass deportations. Their ascent to power threatens to transform Europe into a fortress, its borders increasingly fortified against those fleeing conflict, persecution and poverty. This hardline stance on migration has the potential to create a more hostile and less welcoming environment for those seeking refuge, fueling xenophobia, discrimination and social unrest. The war in Ukraine has exposed another dimension of the far-right's rise, their complex and often ambiguous relationship with Russia. While some far-right parties have condemned Russia's invasion, others have expressed sympathy for Vladimir Putin's regime, drawn to his brand of authoritarian nationalism and his opposition to the liberal world order. These sympathies raise concerns about the far-right's potential to undermine Western support for Ukraine. Their calls to reduce or eliminate military aid and their skepticism of sanctions against Russia could weaken the resolve of European nations to stand united against Russian aggression. The war in Ukraine has, therefore, become a litmus test, exposing the fault lines within the far-right movement and their potential to disrupt the West's response to one of the most significant geopolitical crises in recent memory. The rise of the far right in Europe is not merely a passing political trend, it is a symptom of deeper societal transformations, a reflection of the anxieties and frustrations that have come to define the early 21st century. The far right's success in tapping into these anxieties, in channeling them into a potent mix of nationalism, xenophobia and populism, is a warning sign that cannot be ignored. Their gains are a stark reminder that the values of tolerance, inclusivity and respect for human rights cannot be taken for granted. They must be actively defended and nurtured, for the alternative is a Europe fractured along lines of ethnicity, religion and ideology, a Europe where the ghosts of the past threaten to re-emerge. The rise of the far right in Europe demands a comprehensive and multifaceted response. Addressing the root causes of their appeal, from economic anxieties to cultural insecurities, is essential to stemming the tide of their advance. This requires a renewed commitment to social justice, economic opportunity, and a more inclusive vision of national identity. Governments must address the legitimate concerns of citizens who feel left behind by globalization, providing them with economic security, access to quality education, and opportunities for upward mobility. At the same time, it is crucial to combat the far right's divisive rhetoric with a message of hope, tolerance, and solidarity.
So hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications, and let's turn the page on a new adventure together. Get ready to experience books like never before, only on VBook 360. Like, comment, and share to support the channel and keep the video magic alive. Thank you for stopping by. And remember, every video has a story, and every story deserves to be shared. See you in the next video.